VT corner. Let's get to it. Virginia Tech 30, Wake Forest 17. It took a little while for the offenses to get going. We had a lot of jokes about the 0-0 after the first quarter, but we eventually got out to a 10-0 lead before Wake scored on the kick return. We answered right back with the Lane touchdown. That was really clutch to just answer right back with that. We went up 17-0 at the half, 17-10 at the half, excuse me. And then we shut Wake down in the second half, added a couple field goals and a touchdown to win 30-13. The story of the game was our stifling defensive performance and the continued development of Kyron Jones. That's the two-parter there, but the defense really came to play. I'll go to the offense first. 462 offensive yards. That was the most the Hokies have had versus an FBS opponent since Brent Pry became head coach. 380 total yards for Kyron Jones. We had over 300 passing, over 50 rushing. Only the third time that's been done, I think, ever. It was Brian Randall, 2004, and Gerard Evans did it twice. But so the third quarterback in Virginia Tech history to throw for 300 and rush for 50. That's pretty cool. Yes, no, Michael Vick never did it. Logan never did it. I'm actually more surprised Logan never did it because he had a lot of high passing performances early in his career. But it was weird because Kyron played really well. I thought just watching the game, what was he, 20 for 29? That he was playing really well. His QBR wasn't so good. I'm interested to see how the PFF grade comes out. I didn't get a chance to take a look at that one yet, but sometimes one is higher than the other, and I would hope after that performance, the PFF grade is higher than the QBR. You can just tell by watching him, and this is the bigger takeaway from yet another Hokie win, another FBS win, or I should say Power 5 win. He just looks like the guy. Kyron could be really special for this team. We're still talking about the first handful of starts for this guy. And Bowen made him throw the ball, and it was a little bit more, especially early in the game, than I probably would have liked to see passing the football. But you can't argue with the results. What we put out there offensively was really good. We scored 30 points again. That makes 3 times this year, which is great considering we couldn't do it at all last year. Jalen Lane was fantastic. Just 3 catches in the game, but 2 touchdowns, including that slant pattern that just came cutting across the field, and his speed cutting through those two defenders. Man, he is really good. We haven't done too much of that, and it just worked to perfection. Stephen Gosnell, he was the safety valve in this game. 6 catches for 75 for him. He continues to impress, continues to live up to that offseason hype of him having the best offseason he's ever seen anyone have. That's what Fontel Mines said about Stephen Gosnell. And he continues to play consistent, get open for Kyron. And on those third downs, those critical downs, he's there ready for a pass. Tootin had a long pass play in this game. Not as many touches as I'd like for Tootin, but they were stuffing the rush quite well. Wake was. That was clearly a focus. Daquan Wright had a 33-yarder. So you throw in Stephen Gosnell's catches, you throw in the Lane catches, Wright. There's a few others. We had some more explosive plays, and that's what I'm loving to see. And in this game, it wasn't Kyron having to rush for 40 yards. You know, he was doing it through the air. We had receivers getting open. That is a really nice sign because as teams decide, okay, we're going to shut down Kyron's run, we're going to shut down Tootin, we're going to make him throw to beat us. Well, this was encouraging in that regard. Our defense came to play, as I said earlier. They had 7 sacks and just created a ridiculous amount of havoc. There were a few fumbles, 3 turnovers in the game for the Hokies. They had to bench Griffiths, and they went to Michael Kern. Neither one of those quarterbacks was any good. And we just kept bringing the heat. 13 tackles for loss, just 35 rushing yards for Wake Forest. It was a thing of beauty. And after Florida State, where we start to think, okay, the bad rushing defense is back. We thought we had it figured out against Pitt. Pitt just stinks. Well, we came right back against Wake here and had a tremendous defensive performance against the rush. So Florida State might be in a different class, and we kind of know that they are. They have better athletes. Benson's a great back. But this was encouraging for the Rusty and something they probably really needed. I'm guessing the coaches were really challenging those guys this week. This is the first time we held a team without an offensive touchdown since the 2019 Pitt game where we shut them out. I got that from Andy Bitter, but that's awesome. Their only touchdown came on that run back, which without that, they probably wouldn't be competitive in the game at all. APR had 4 sacks himself. So I said we had 7 as a team, but 4 of them were Anton Powell Ryland, which is just outrageous. So outrageous. In fact, only one other Virginia Tech player has ever done that. And that was defensive line coach J.C. Price, who was a monster back in his day. So APR is now up to 7 sacks on the year for him personally, which is our highest total since 2016. I think Kenneth Canham had 7.5 that year. So if APR gets one more sack, you have to go back to the Frank Beamer era to find an individual player on Virginia Tech who had a higher sack total. Now, that speaks to some of the struggles we've had at defensive end, at defensive tackle, getting sacks, at least for one player over the year. We usually do pretty well as a team, but we haven't had a single player get 8 sacks since 2014. So this is really encouraging. And he's got, 5 games left to do it? I think double digits could be in the cards for Antoine Powell Ryland this year, which was one of Robbie's predictions. So that's pretty cool. The special teams did give up the return TD, but when that's all the other team can muster, I don't feel so bad about it. And we had our own special teams play. The fake punt at the end of the third quarter, that was a critical moment because we had been struggling a bit. The defense was having to keep coming on the field and shutting them down. Gave them a chance to rest. We convert, and it led to a field goal. Yeah, you want 7, but that field goal to put us up 10, it was 20-10 at that point. It felt like that was an insurmountable lead for Wake, and it turned out to be just that. So I've got a couple comments here. Let's see. I was in the stands, and to be honest, the way the defense was playing, the way we were moving the ball after the first quarter, I actually never felt concerned. That was from Devin. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, that 10-point lead felt comfortable. Thank you, Devin, for that comment. And then we got Trevor Mays here. Minus the kickoff return, it was great to see all 3 phases of the game come together finally. And I couldn't agree more. This was a complete victory. And it was the second game in the last 3 where we looked more prepared than the other team. We looked like better coached throughout the game, a totally complete game. And so the fact that now in our last 3 games, I have to figure out, well, which game was the more complete game, the Pitt game or the Wake game? Well, that is an awesome conversation to have because I feel like this one was a little bit more complete because we didn't give up as many points, especially offensively, to Wake offensively. But man, that feels good. That feels good to say because there were real concerns after Purdue, Rutgers, Marshall. Can this coaching staff figure it out? Can they figure it out? Is this the right coaching staff? Is this the right coordinators? And there's going to be questions that come up. Wake has been a not very good team. It's one of the reasons that Robbie and I were optimistic about getting this victory. Nevertheless, when you come out and you beat a bad team by 17, we did the same thing to Pitt. That's what you're supposed to do. And that's what we did. And our coaches and players looked prepared. And that was, it's a huge relief. This is from Alex Bonnell. How can Virginia Tech clean up the third down conversion percentage? It's pretty bad still. It is pretty bad. I think it will continue to improve as Lane is back with the offense. I know it's been a couple games, but you're starting to see him get so comfortable, and him and Gosnell are the players on third down that will be clutch. Typically, you would lean on a tight end. Our tight ends are good. Benji and Wright are still just second-year players. And I think as they improve and as the wide receivers and drones continue to develop that rapport, that third down conversion percentage will get better. We got another comment from Devin here. I'd argue that's still a product of a young quarterback. More snaps and third down situations will solve that. And yeah, that's essentially what I was getting at. Is it comes down to the quarterback being more mature. We a couple weeks, I think it was with Colby, we were talking about Dylan Gabriel and how he won that Texas game. Experience does matter. And so he's going on raw ability right now. And the fact that he couldn't win the starting job to start the year shows you maybe like he wasn't so sharp in practice and whatnot. He needs game reps. Kyron does. And as he gets them, I think we'll see all those fringe aspects of the offense start to come together even more, which is really exciting if we can get the defense to play like this. I think I covered everything I need to cover about this game before I go over it with Rob in a couple days. We are going to go over the weight game in detail on our Two Deep show. We have a bye this week, so we won't be previewing Syracuse until the following week. We might get into a little bit and talk about just how our bowl eligibility looks because it's starting to get, I'm getting more optimistic. We got BC, we got UVA, NC State doesn't look very good. Syracuse looks winnable. Louisville just had an injury to Jawar Jordan and came crashing back down to earth versus Pitt. I'll talk about that shortly. Bowl is seeming possible. We need 3 more wins. And some of the teams we play are not very good teams. And so if our coaches continue to look like the more prepared coaches, the more prepared players against bad teams, we can win those games. BC on the road still scares me. But that's a game we can win. We know we're going to turn Charlottesville into Lane Stadium North. We're going to come away with that victory. I feel pretty good about that one. NC State, I'm going to that one in a couple weeks. That's a very beatable team. Very, very beatable team. Duke, that was an easy play. Duke beating NC State, they just 24-3 or something like that. NC State is not very good, man. They weren't competitive in that game. And then Syracuse. Syracuse is falling apart. They don't have any weapons right now. And that's next Thursday night. So the schedule is starting to lay out well. I am so encouraged by what I've seen from Kyron Drones. Do we still have issues? Absolutely. Some of the play calls from Bowen could be better. But Marv showed me a little something in this game. I was happy to see that. The team does seem to be coming together as we've gotten more healthy. What do you know? And it's fun to watch. It's fun to win. And so I'm pleased with that.